choice time. Within Braille and within the CCTV, there are choices. So it was giving choices of high preferred activities with a timer, using that first then language. And in addition to using first then language, having a picture representation, or if the picture was not feasible due to the visual impairment, sometimes a object type of calendar, first then. So that would be one level of the behavior management plan that worked well. Another, so that's my primary go-to. Then after that, some of the other things that, especially with working with more than one outside behavior therapist, because of different students and who they were going to see outside of the district, would include using longer-term rewards that were combined with the family at home. Also, if the family was productive at doing this, involving the family in the behavior management plan on a daily basis. That's harder to implement. That's literally, after three times, Susie, you had your, 3 times I've asked you to do your work. You've not done it, then that will be reported to your mom. And when you get home, your mom will take away video time. Or you don't get to choose dessert that night. And that's been all worked out with the family, trying to find those preferred activities and preferred things. But that is harder to implement because that involves the family following through, and that's often difficult. They're exhausted, a lot of families work, and they don't want to get home and just have a battle at home. And I understand that. So that's another level. So then after that, looking at, let's see, some other examples would be, again, depending upon the age and maturity level of the child, one that is more mature, a token system. That's more long-term, where they earn tokens. In one example, it was a student, he was in first grade, but he loved the Minions. So just getting little pictures of Minions, and after he got through Velcro, put them on a board, and after 10 Minions, he got extra recess time. He got, special lunch with so-and-so that he liked. He was able to play a song at the beginning of our lesson. Or with another student who enjoyed talking a lot and used that as an avoidance strategy, we would get social talk time at the end of the lesson for 5 minutes. So, again, that's going back to those preferred activities. With another student, he loved smelly hand lotion. So some type of good smelling hand lotion. He loved Tic Tac mints. So one little mint, sugarless. He liked certain games. He liked, most students love the iPad. The iPad can definitely be a preferred activity, but it can be very hard to take it away then and shut it down. So it's, again, that just depends on the student. Some other strategy. Some other.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Some other strategies that have been tried was working out with the teacher before coming in to do the lesson, that he could sit on the little sofa in the classroom or the beanbag chair, and with a heavier blanket, following kind of the theory of the weighted vest. Had a couple of students use weighted vests, but most of the time, classroom teachers end up saying it's not really helping. But that has been a strategy, using the vest. Another strategy that came from the behavior therapist, which I did not find successful in the classroom environment, although they found it successful in their private offices, was to give the student a task to give them what they called heavy work. And heavy work was something like they would, pretend to be like a wheelbarrow. And I'm not a proponent of this, where you would pick the student's legs up from behind and then they could crawl across the carpet. They could sit on they could bounce. They can jump up and down. Again, that seemed to work very well in several therapist offices, but in a classroom that was not as successful. But that would be another strategy that I've tried on multiple occasions, to give a break and say, okay, it's time, we're going to do you can choose your heavy work. Another one kind of along that line, just to get that movement going, and the thought process is that the student would benefit and alter their behavior from movement, would be to give them a job like taking a letter to the office.
Okay.
That, again, depending upon once you get the child outside the classroom, then they're running down the hallway. It just, again, depends on the maturity level of the student, if that works or not. It sounds good, but when you put it in practice in the school environment, a lot of those strategies just takes the behavior from they were distracted in the classroom and off task in the classroom, to now they're running down the hallways, going into other classrooms, emptying drawers out, just not, it didn't solve the problem. So that'd be another strategy that we tried from the behaviorists. Changing their environment, giving them the heavy work, giving them that movement break. And something I've tried to do that has worked a little bit better is to incorporate that movement break as just part of the lesson. So halfway through the lesson, and the student knows it up front. So it's not, instead of it being I see you're off task, let's do a movement break, just building it into the schedule up front. 20 minutes into the lesson, it's time for our movement break. So, and I love to use some of the preschool videos available on YouTube, whether it's head, shoulders, knees, and toes, or the body part song, or going on a lion hunt, going on a bear hunt with the movements, the music, the song. All the children love that for the most part. Just a few cases of autism where they just won't engage, but for the most part, that's been very successful. So then, and building that into the schedule. Another strategy has been to try to dim the lights and make it very quiet and play soothing music. That I've tried that with multiple students, and those that really react to that will even maybe fall asleep. But others, once they're wound up, it's not been a good intervention. I think that has more success if it's just built into the schedule as to try to eliminate some of the behaviors up front versus trying to be a solution.
Okay. Thank you so much. You actually answered quite a few of the other questions that I've got, but there are a few more specific things I want to ask you about, if that's okay now. You mentioned communication and working with families, and I wanted to know, do you communicate with your students' families about behavioral challenges, and if so, how do you communicate with them? Can you give me some examples?
If the family is receptive, I use a Google Doc and I fill it out. And the grid that I put together is IEP goal, activity scheduled for that day, off task time, on task time, and then comments.
Okay.
And so I try to avoid the word behavior. I'm just reporting activity.
Okay.
Because I think that's better received.
Okay.
And just off task, on task, activity, and in the notes section, I would put, bit teacher on the head, or punch someone, or had to do. At one school I went to, and I did not agree